Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2020 Taxa Mantis. I'm going to walk through how to install the Timken bearings on a 3,500 pound axle. When we talk about bearings, there's all different types of bearings. The bearings that we're going to be installing today are called roller bearings. And there's different manufacturers out there. Some of them last longer, some of them don't. Timken specifically are 100% designed or made in the USA. They are specifically designed with a high-grade steel alloy, so they're going to last twice as long as other manufacturers' bearings. And they are a roller bearing, as I mentioned, and what they have in them is they have these little bitty rollers that guide your drum around your spindle. They're heat treated. They have a special coating on them to resist corrosion. The heat treatment on them is because when that roller or those small rollers run around that spindle, it creates friction. When it creates friction, it creates heat. Being a high-grade steel alloy that is heat treated, there's less chance of that bearing breaking down like some of the other manufacturers out there. As far as the installation process, if you've ever changed a drum bearings or even disc brake bearings, it's going to be the same. You just want to make sure you get the correct one. And how you tell that, if you've never done it, is your inner bearing and outer bearing on the back side, they're going to have a number on them. You want to make sure that the ones you're putting on are the same numbers as the ones you're taking off. Now, once you replace your bearings, I will recommend replacing the grease as well, and also maintaining that. Check your grease once a year, make sure it's not going bad on you. If it is, replace it all. But you definitely want to check it once a year, repack the bearings in the drum with new grease, because that grease does break down. Once that grease breaks down, it allows more friction between the bearing and the spindle. When you get more friction, that means you're getting more heat. When you get more heat, that means the stuff starts breaking down. Not only could you damage the bearings, you could also damage the spindle, and you could damage the inside of the drum. So save yourself the trouble. When you put new bearings in, make sure you repack the grease with new grease, check it once a year, make sure that grease is still good. If it's not, replace it. Now, if you're still in the decision process of trying to choose the right bearing, I highly recommend going with Timken. Timken's been around for a long time. They're very well known. They got high quality products. And as I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, they're designed to last twice as long as a standard bearing or a regular bearing from other manufacturers. So, yeah, go with Timken. Timken's a good bearing. Other than that, if it is the process of installing is something you may not have the time or space to do, you can always check out our dealer locator and find someone near you that can get them put in for you. If it is something you want to do yourself, it's not a hard job. It can get a little bit messy because you're dealing with grease, but I promise you, you can do it in your garage or your driveway. Follow along with me now and I'll walk you through how to do it. To start our installation, we need to remove our cap. We're going to be reinstalling the cap, so we want to try not to damage it. We're going to take a small flathead screwdriver, get it right back behind this lip, and just tap it in there until it starts to separate from the hub, or from the drum. Once you get that separation, if you just twist, work your way around, until we get it completely popped off. What I recommend, wear gloves, get you a mat, cardboard, something like that down here that you can set your parts on, as well as your drum, and also an empty box so you can put all your waste stuff in it. Keeps everything kind of cleaned up. And a box of paper towels. Now we're going to start wiping off this old grease until we get access to that retainer clip. I'm gonna pop it off like this. I'm gonna wipe all the old grease off of this because we're gonna be putting new grease in. I'm gonna make sure there's no contaminants that are gonna mess up our new bearings. So clean it off the best you can. And we're going to set that aside. And you're going to have this axle nut. You should be able to just spin this off with your fingers. It should not be tight on there. Bring the old grease off, like we did that retaining clip. We're going to take our drum and we're going to slide it out. That inner bearing is going to pop out of there. We're not going to be reinstalling that, so we'll just set that aside. We don't have to worry about cleaning it. I'll pull the rest of our hub assembly off. And then we want to make sure we clean off the spindle. When you clean off the spindle, again, make sure you're getting all the old stuff off, or as much as you possibly can. And what you want to look for is rub marks from your bearings. You're going to see discoloration on the spindle. Just because there's rub marks or burn marks doesn't mean the spindle is bad. The bearing was going bad. If they go bad for too long, it'll end up damaging the spindle and you have to get new spindles. So what you can do is where that spot is, and we obviously don't have one on here, but you can rub on it and you can feel if the spindle is damaged. If it's just discolored, it should be fine. Next thing you want to do is you're going to wipe out the old grease from your drum, clean it out the best you can. You're obviously probably not going to be able to get all of it, but we're going to do our best. So if you look at this grease, how soft it is, it's almost to where it's runny. Not quite there yet. That means the grease is going bad. It needs to be replaced. Now obviously we're going to be putting new grease in it, but this is something to look for if you're going to repack bearings or anything like that. It's good to take the old grease out and put new in, especially if it looks like this. So now we've got our brake assembly in place. We're going to go ahead and put our new Timken bearings, get our drum ready to be installed. One thing I cannot stress enough is with the new bearing, and this is not only if you're putting new ones on, but if you're not replacing the ones that you have on there, when you go to slide that off, that outer bearing, make sure it does not hit the ground. So if it drops on the ground, it's toast. Same thing with these new ones. If you drop them on the ground accidentally, you might as well just get a new bearing because the bearing's going to be toast. So the Timken bearing kit comes with a new race. Our races are fine, so we're not going to be replacing those. But you can find the bearings separate. You can find the races. You can also find the seals. You can also get them as kits with the bearing races, seals, inner and outer bearing. You just make sure you have the right bearing. The bearing number, to make sure you have the right bearing, on the edge of the bearing, there's going to be a number on it. You want to make sure that matches the one that you're taking off. So now what we need to do is we need to pack this with grease. Some people use bearing packers. I do it kind of the old-fashioned way. What we're going to do is I'm taking some high temp grease. And if you remember the grease we took out of there, That's the difference. We're going to take a little bit of this. If you're going to do it this way, put it in the palm of your hand. If you notice on the bearing, it's got an open edge there in the front and back. We're going to take this grease and shove it in there. Work it against your palm. What we want to see that grease start to come out in between there. Now, we don't have to get real crazy with this, because we're going to end up taking a grease gun on this Zerk fitting right here. Once we get the whole assembly put on, and this Zerk fitting, it's going to fill the whole inside of this and push grease into this. We're just pre-packing these to make sure that we are getting grease inside where the rollers are. You just want to work this around. Once you get the bearing, the outer bearing is always going to be bigger. Once you get that packed, we're going to take some of the grease and we're going to spread it on the inside of our drum. Where this bearing is going to rest on that, on the race. You'll notice the bearing is tapered. We want this smaller side facing towards the inside of the drum. Again, don't just drop it down in there. Set it in there like that. Now we're going to take our seal. We're going to set it in like this. And if you don't have a seal driver, what you can use is a piece of wood. We're going to set it over that. And what we want is this seal to drive down in there evenly. Take some more grease. Spread it in here for our outer bearing. We'll do the same thing with our outer bearing that we did with our inner one. We also want to take some grease and spread it on your spindle. Now we're going to take our drum, we're going to slide it on. Take our outer bearing, cone side going in. Make sure it's pushed back on there. We're going to put that washer on. And our axle nut. So now what we need to do is we're going to tighten this nut down. Once we tighten it down, we're going to loosen it back up and then hand tighten it. The reason we're tightening is we want to make sure that that rear bearing or inside bearing is seated all the way up against the lip on the spindle, and that the hub is over the brakes the way it needs to be. So loose, finger tight. Come back with the retaining clip. There we go. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take our grease gun, we're going to pump the same grease in it from the tube until we start seeing it come out here. Once we see it come out here, we know the inside's full and our bearings are full. You can see that coming out there. If your cap has a rubber plug on it, which if you have Zerk fittings, most likely they will. If they do, take that rubber plug off. We get our cap put back in place here. Make sure it's sealed all around the edge. We're going to take some more grease. We're going to pump it in so you can see it inside the cap then. There we go. Look at that. Pop our cap back on. And repeat the process on the other side. Once you have both sides done, go ahead and reinstall your wheels and you're ready to go. It's going to do it for a look at installation of Timken bearings on a 3,500 pound axle on the 2020 Taxa Mantis Travel trailer.